I know this film's been out for a few weeks in the US, but us folks in the UK only just got it. Stupid UK. The Boy and the Heron, Studio Ghibli and legendary director Hayao Miyazaki, who fronted films like Spirited Away, My Neighbor Totoro, and just a bunch of other amazing films, they're teaming up again. For what may be the director's final film? I'm not sure, the man's 82 now. Anyways, The Boy and the Heron stars around a young boy named Mahito who yearns for his mother and ventures into a world shared by the living and the dead. There, death comes to an end and life finds a new beginning. I very much went into this blind and really had no idea what to expect, and maybe to my detriment, as I was wanting it to feel very similar to previous titles such as Princess Mononoke and Howl's Moving Castle, and weirdly enough I couldn't help but compare it to one in particular, and that was Spirited Away. Probably feels a bit rude comparing it to Spirited Away, but it is so, and unfortunately just feels like a bit of a lesser version. And how I mean this is in how they're trying to tell their stories with surrounding themselves in the theme of self-resolution, both in a fantasy setting where they're taking our main characters to a whole new world. I really wanted to like this film more than I did, but I'm not quite sure how I feel about it, and that's in no way to say that this is a bad film. To start off with the unsurprising, the art style, as you might expect, is just downright gorgeous, with each frame being a painting of its own almost, and each colourful placing character bringing that sense of calm and wonder. This is greatly aided by the soundtrack, which is very much non-existent in the first act of the film, but strides into its own once the movie flips us into this adventure into the fantasy world. Unfortunately though, the pacing of the film just feels off. You could easily chop 10 to 15 minutes off the first act. It's a super slow start and doesn't really focus that much on the relationship building between Mahito and the new stepmom, which the adventure becomes focused around later in the story. There's a lot of slow walking scenes from one place to another, which depending on what side of bed you get out of in the morning might have you think it's either mystical or just a bit boring. It felt difficult getting over that slow start, only to have the ending be abruptly rushed to a finish on the other side. It really needed more balancing in that regard. Supposedly this is an autobiographical fantasy, which I wasn't really aware of it being an autobiography, and I think that might be important going into this. It doesn't feel like a movie designed to tell a story so much as it is a movie created from artistic expression. I learned after watching as well that the original title of the film in Japan is How to Live and was changed for overseas releases, and I think the original title probably makes a bit more sense. There's a lot of symbolism in here, and I think a lot of the themes centralise around the loss of a mother, acceptance of new parents and the life that follows after that loss, which is something director Hayao Miyazaki has expressed is something he's very much explored in his own life with the loss of his own mother. The film feels more purposeful when you see this project as a way of visualising those feelings instead of necessarily telling us a cohesive story. A lot of those themes of finding yourself are also shared in Spirited Away though from different causes and effects in the story, both movies seem to explore a mystical world and reach that emotional resolution in similar ways. But it just feels far more disjointed in The Boy and the Heron. The places we explore are really imaginative, loads of cool elements I would never think of, but the purpose for being there isn't really fleshed out enough. The order of events feel far too random to really feel like there's any form of character growth for our main hero too. So I'm mixed bag about it. The movie feels far more random whilst still carrying the beauty and mystery you'd find in any other Ghibli film with a fantasy-like element. I chose to watch this in dub, having seen what an insane voice cast there was behind the English release, and Robert Pattinson as the Grey Heron is amazing, completely unrecognisable, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him doing more voice acting roles after this. And besides a few handful of other voice actors such as Mark Hamill as the Grand Uncle and Karen Fukunaga as Lady Himi, the rest of this star-studded dubbed cast definitely feels more of a marketing ploy than anything else. And don't get me wrong, no one was bad in this film, really, but I've heard from a lot of sources that the Japanese original cast feels more genuine to the tone of the film, and that wouldn't surprise me having just seen this dub. So at some point I'd love to go back and revisit this film with the original voice acting. I can imagine this may be a divisive film, and I think it's one that people need to sit on and thematically explore as time goes on, and even if it's not a film I expected it to be, I'm still glad I watched it. If you're a Studio Ghibli fan, it's worth seeing as it still has that sense of beauty, wonder and imagination, and anime fans in general should also give this one a try, but be warned of the slow burn for it to kick into any gear and the lack of hand-holding through a more easy to consume story. But this film's been out for ages now, so let me know if you've already managed to see it. If you have, let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, feel free to like and subscribe and all that, and as always, stay tuned for more reviews on movies, anime and video games. Until next one guys, take care. Bye bye.